Today's Dynamite Noob Spearo podcast is brought to you by spearfishing.com.au. That's right, the fine folks over at Adreno have been supporting the Noob Spearo podcast since about episode 18. And they help pay the bills around here. Just want to encourage you to check out spearfishing.com.au and use the code NoobSpearo. You can save $20 on every purchase over 200. But it's just a great online shopping experience. The reviews are phenomenal. If you want to check out a new spear gun, new pair of booties, new pair of gloves, someone's used them before. They've written a review. It's on their website. It's all there there for you. Head along to spearfishing.com.au and thank you for shopping with today's major sponsor, Adreno. G'day guys, welcome to episode 100, joined by Shrek and Turbo. What an absolute pleasure.
Back for episode 100. I know you guys have missed me dearly. The emails have been just coming in. Oh, when are you going to come back? Come on back. To be true, actually, it's been crickets. Haven't got one of you. Not one person. Not one.
No, we missed you. I've had emails. No. I've seen messages.
I went down to Adreno the other day and I had some books for the store and I said, "Oh, g'day, I'm Turbo from Noob Spearo," and they said, "Who?" It was fucking. I said, it was actually Matty Luthwaite. I said, "I've literally spoken to you on several occasions, face to face," and then he asked me to leave. It was pretty upsetting, actually. No, that didn't happen. Anyway.
All right, well, today we're going to get into a whole bunch of questions from listeners just like you. We've also got a mad section there from Jaap Verbaas, who's a former guest. He's written several articles about cardio, lactate, and just some fun physiological facts and how to train the stuff out of your system. Very relevant, very interesting, very scientific.
You still lactating?
I'm still lactating.
You're still lactating. We're using one microphone, and I spoke, so he put it to his mouth, and then when he spoke, he put it into my mouth. So we're actually going back to probably the first 8 episodes, and we only had a single mic, so it's primitive.
It's extremely primitive. The setup is not even on a Mac anymore. It's on a Windows thing. But anyway, so we're going to get into that with Jaap. It's going to be cool. As usual, highly actionable information. Plenty of information from questions from listeners. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to hooking into them. Before we get to that, Turbo, can we do some shout-outs?
Yeah, let's do some shout-outs.
All right. You're making me extremely awkward. I'm not used to video.
Put the camera on him when he's frozen up.
No, I'm done for the day. That's me. Okay, so let's hook in.
Go, quick shout-out.
Shout-outs. Big comp coming up, North Florida Shootout from May the 1st to May the 5th. Check it out at northflshootout.com. I'm just trying to find the website. There it is. northflshootout.com. Find out heaps more information there. It's from May the 1st to May the 5th. You can even win a copy of 99 Tips to Get Better at Spearfishing. Really awesome sponsors. You've got no idea. Right, our noobspearo.com/spearfishing club connections is going off. Got a whole lot more fresh clubs that have just registered. Check it out. If your club's not on there, I'd love to hear from you. So go to noobspearo.com. If you click up in the About menu, you'll see Spearfishing Club Connections. Florida, Agua Verdes from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle. These guys have got 42 members. It's an awesome club, great culture there. I'd encourage you to check that out. Also, the South Florida Freedivers based out of Miami. They've got more than 80 people there. They meet up regularly. Check out the details there on our website. And that's oh, no, one more. I had the North County Depth Finders, Oceanside, California. They've got 60 to 80 active members and also a really cool club that's pretty young, only established in 2013, but they've got a good thing going there as well. No Spearo, Spearfishing Club Connections. Turbo, more shout-outs. I believe you've got something to talk about. There's a couple of reviews there, I think.
Oh, we've got reviews. Oh, have a look at this. So this one's from So. It's another 5-star review. Here we go. I can't thank Shrek and Turbo enough for their commitment to all things spearfishing. I'm a beginner, but I feel like I have improved just by listening. I don't know any Spearo, so it's been really comforting to hear interviews going through the same beginner problems and rookie mistakes that I did. Also love their overall attitude that spearfishing is a lifestyle rather than a competitive sport. Their message really resonates with me. Keep it up, y'all. Lovely. I've not been spearfishing. Sorry, this is great yarns and actionable information. I feel there's a bit of me and a bit of you in that because you love a bit of actionable information.
And you love great yarns.
Yeah, I know. And you've just put down a bag of pitted dates. I think someone's trying to stay regular. So I've not been spearfishing long, but after finding the Noob Spearo and listening every day on my way to work, it's a long drive and I'm working my way through the older episodes. They're gold. I've been able to put a lot of the tips Shrek and Turbo's guests talk about into action and have made some good progress in my spearfishing already. Love listening to all the stories everyone has to tell. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
I love a good review. What about you?
I love a good yarn and actionable information. That's what I love.
Down here, YouTube.
Oh. Should I do this one? So, yep, subscribe to Noob Spearo on the YouTube. I'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers. Jump on a video and comment what videos you think would be cool for us to make.
Talking about YouTube,
Yo.
tell them about our plans for buying GoPros.
Yeah, there's enough in the Noob Spearo coffers to buy a couple of GoPros, and we're going to go and start doing some gear tutorial stuff and some beginner basics to run everyone through because we feel like we've sort of glossed over all that sort of stuff. We've sort of missed it with a lot of these episodes, and we're getting a lot of new guys that want to know that stuff. So we've got a beautiful little studio set up in my garage, some nice whiteboards and things like that. Oh, it's just going to be off the hook. Fresh.
Cool. I'm excited about filming a bit more video stuff. So, thanks to the guys again that got on our Kickstarter because definitely give us a boost. And, all the copies of 99 tips that have gone out the doors of Noob Spearo. It's been absolutely fantastic. Just wanted to announce the 28-day freediving transformation with Immersion Freediving. Our good buddy Ted Hardy over there at Immersion has developed a course to help you improve your freediving performance. There's a couple of questions coming in the show today from listeners, and we might mention this again. But if you go to noobspearo.com/TED, you'll see a full list of training programs available for noobers, and you get a discount code Noob Spearo, and you'll save some money. But if you're serious about increasing your bottom time, lowering your comfortable operating depth, and wanting to feel a little bit more comfortable at depth, then the 28-day freediving transformation is perfect for that. And you get yourself a free copy of 99 Tips to Get Better at Spearfishing when you get onto it. So check that out, noobspearo.com/TED, and lifetime access to this 28-day training program. So if you've got like a big charter trip coming, your fitness has been a bit flogged out, this is something that'll get you in tip-top shape again.
Do it every 28 days. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you could definitely do with a couple of back-to-back ones, I think. Maybe a 56-day transformation. Did you like what I did there with maths? It was pretty fast.
It was pretty sharp. Oh, it's written in your book there.
Nathan Fenn says, "Hi Shrek, I've listened to a number of your pods now and I'm hooked. I'm only new to the sport, no authority on anything, but believe this is a share-worthy point." He says, "I've read and watched a lot of equalising videos on YouTube in an attempt to learn how to Frenzal." He says, "I've found this method is not very well explained in many articles or videos, and he sent me a video that he thinks is really good. The video is by a guy named Aharon Solomons. It's a free video on YouTube available to help you learn how to Frenzal, but over and above that, I would even recommend that you go to noobspearo.com/TED and check out his Roadmap to Frenzal course. This is guaranteed to get you Frenzaling." Can you do that? I can turn that into a guarantee, can't I?
You can what?
Frenzaling.
Did you guarantee something?
Yeah, you can.
Did you make a guarantee?
Ted guarantees it. That you will be able to Frenzal after doing this.
We don't need another lawsuit.
Well, that's true. Can you bet? So check that out. Go to noobspearo.com/TED and you'll get the Roadmap to Frenzal course. But I'll also link up this free video. So thanks to Nathan for that resource for people wanting to learn how to Frenzal. Because if you're stuck in that Valsalva zone and you can't get beyond 30 feet, it absolutely sucks. And you need to learn how to Frenzal to freedive effectively. So awesome, mate. Great point. Our buddy Kyle Amer He's a fantastic fella. He's got the offshore division, awesome YouTube channel with some awesome footage out of like southern Queensland. He says, "Hi mate, I was wondering if you thought of mentioning a fishing or spearfishing comp coming up on the sunny coast later this year. It's called the Sunshine Coast Fishing and Sustainability Competition for Spearos and Fishermen." So their page has quite a good following on it, but just check that out. Just Google Sunshine Coast Fishing and Sustainability Competition for Spearos and Fishermen. If it comes recommended from Kyle, I'm sure it's a good initiative because he's a top bloke.
Very enthusiastic.
All right, Turbo. So you've been missing. You've been out of action for a good few episodes. Tell us about what you've been working on.
Oh, I bought a rot box of a house that's kept me busy 24 hours a day. That's just, but it's been wonderful. But no, seriously, yeah, bought an old rot box of a house, and I've just been renovating and working and been absolutely flat out. But I have been working on another little book that we sort of felt that needed to happen because 99 Tips didn't address the problems of all the very, very fresh, the greenhorns. The guys that go into the shop and they buy their first gun or spear gun or whatever, and they've got all those questions. So been working in the background on that, and that is written and ready to go. So now we're up to taking the photographs and doing the illustrations. So hopefully that should be out pretty soon, and hopefully that helps somebody out there that's starting spearfishing.
While you're away, I launched Patreon, and Patreon's actually doing bloody well. We've got 8 patrons, and we're starting to make some money out of the podcast. So if you are serious about supporting the Noob Spearo, you've been listening for a while, I'd love it if you go to Patreon /Noob Spearo, and you can jump on. There's 3 different supporter levels there. But I just thought this episode maybe we would tell you a little bit about how we want to spend the money. And Turbo, what do you think? How do you want to spend the Patreon money?
Yeah, so I need to paint my house. And I want Shrek to do it. So yeah, that's not what we're going to do. So yeah, basically, yeah, we want to put that money aside and start doing a few trips around spearfishing. Maybe go and visit a few of these places and people that we've had on the show, and get in the water with guys out there or guys and girls out there and shoot some fish. Yeah.
Yeah, we get offers from like guests all the time. Come and stay with us and go spearfishing, and trying to get the finance together and the time off work and all the rest of it's really tough. And so, all the money that goes into Patreon, we're going to set all of it aside just for trips. And we're going to do live interviews in different clubs and shops and all around the place, and slowly start to get out and visit some of our listeners and hopefully go spearing with you. So if you are a patron, thank you very much. You are putting money towards our next big spearfishing trip.
Yeah, if just have a think about it. If Noob Spearo has saved your life just once, consider being a Noob Spearo Patreon. That'd be awesome. Or maybe you've learnt just that one tip and shot one fish. I reckon get on board.
So August, we're going to do our first trip. We've got $130 in Patreon at the moment. So I haven't discussed this with you at all, so I'm just chucking it out there right now. But I'm thinking Melbourne.
So yeah, right. Yeah, no, I like that. Actually, it's been on my list. So who are we going to dive with in Melbourne?
So we've got Sven and Eckhart, 2 of the boys down there. We can go and hang out with the Club Spearfish lads and maybe do a live interview at a club night. I haven't discussed that with them at all.
They
might not want it at all, yeah. We could stop in and hang out with the Adreno guys down there and definitely get out for a couple of days diving in the bay. What's the Port Phillip Bay down there? And get out and maybe get some scallops and some crays.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So that's a tentative pencil in for August down to Melbourne. But that's where your Patreon money is going. So if you want to check that out, patreon.com/Noob Spearo. And we want to try and do 2 or 3 trips a year. And so that's where your Patreon is going. Right, let's get into some questions. We've been mucking around far too much. Random community questions.
Yeah.
This bloke says, I've recently made the move from North Queensland to Southern Queensland, and I've noticed a lot of the diving is deeper. How do I make my way from a 10 to 12 metre diver, which is 30 to 40 feet, to hitting 18 to 20 metres, which is 60 to 70 foot sort of diving? A couple of great resources for you. Type into Google dry training for spearfishing, Noob Spearo, and there's a guide there. It's got 7 different exercises you can do to train in the dry that will definitely boost your CO2 tolerance and O2 tolerance. And there's a whole lot of resources in there like tools, apps for breath hold, for improving your breath hold. And there's books, there's courses, there's a whole lot of stuff. So just type in dry training for spearfishing, Noob Spearo, it'll come right up. Yeah. Also mentioned at the start was Ted's 28-day freediving transformation. Highly recommend this resource. It's fresh off the boat. Go to noobspearo.com/TED and you'll get access to that. Use the code NoobSpearo to save a bit of dough. And a group I'm involved with here in Brisbane is the Bullsharks. We train out of Somerville House in South Brisbane. It's absolutely excellent. Great bunch of guys. You meet a whole bunch of other spearos, and it's great to extend your network and have a good laugh. Training in the pool a couple of the nights a week. And I have... when I got back from China, my breath hold was terrible. I went out for a day's boat diving. I was flat out diving 14 metres and not even spending any time there. And now I'm back, diving really comfortably again at depth and absolutely loving. So that's kind of my advice, to dive in a bit deeper. Turbo, anything to add?
Oh, to be absolutely honest, I think just you'll get down here, it'll be a bit deeper. You'll just adapt. You'll dive more. Just make sure you buddy up and go through those proper protocols so you're safe, but it just comes with time. Really, like, at the end of the day, like, you will... I mean, it's great to train, and there's no doubt the training works. It doesn't just help, it works. But if you're diving enough at depth, it'll come slowly by slowly. Yeah.
And I think, too, when you start to approach those new depths, don't just hover above the bottom because you think it's just too deep. If it's that extra 2 metres, just push down and actually get on the bottom, because that'll do wonders for relaxing and getting your confidence up. How can I get out spearfishing more? Super common question. Turbo, you're in a tough spot with a rock box and doing a course online, and like a really full-on marriage and children on the way and a big job, plus all the hefty labours of Noob Spearo. How do you get out spearfishing more?
Well, you just go to... there's a great article written by Shrek. It's an absolute beauty, and I think it's... 6 tips to go spearfishing. If you just Google that, it'll pop up. It's a great picture of a leisure boat, completely unrelated from stock footage, with that written over the top of it. So get and check that out. I put my 2 cents in, and I just wrote basically about chucking the perfect sickie, because sometimes you just got to do what you've got to do, don't you? And the problem is, if you worry about the weather, you'll never go spearfishing. But the problem is, it just seems to get to the weekend and the weather jacks up and you've got swell running and wind, and you miss another weekend. You're out in the water for 2 weeks. Happens again. You're out. There's 3 weeks. Month doesn't take long for there's a month gone. We've all got work commitments and that kind of thing. So definitely be liberal with the sickies. I hate to say it, but it helps.
So 6 tips to go spearfishing more at noobspearo.com. Turbo's guide to chuck in a sickie is comprehensive. You can tell that this is an absolute master of his craft. Like, laying the credibility crumbs. I loved this line. Like, a couple of days in advance of your sickie, because you've eyed up the weather, you're already letting them know that there's something coming on. And that...
Jeez, my back's playing up. Oh... It's always doing it. It's cold. It's the winter weather coming in. The back's just shot at the moment. Yeah. Next minute, day off work. No, I'm just joking.
So that's the Monday, and then by the time Wednesday rolls around, your workmates are half expecting it, and the boss asks, "Oh, what's happened to bloody Levi?" And you've already, your workmates have, he's been complaining about his back all week, boss. And you're set. So, but there's more tips in there. Levi's definitely one area of his expertise. Okay, how do I find someone experienced to take me out and show me the ropes? Now, also another common thread, and this one's a tough one, I reckon, because like the guys that are really good, they don't really like... your days out spearfishing are few and far between, and then you've got a day to go out spearfishing, and I've got to take out a new guy. There's definitely it's not all beer and skittles, I guess, taking out new guys. Turbo, how did you sort of hook up with some more experienced divers?
Yeah, I did a pre-Bullsharks Wayne Judge Spearo's training group course, I guess you'd call it, yeah, and just met guys, went from there. Actually, the whole crew comes from there. So, that was really helpful. Clubs, if they're in your area, go along to a club meet. That's pretty handy. get on Facebook groups. It's pretty basic. Just hunt people out. I'll take you out. Speaking of clubs, I just want to give a shout out while we're going to the Coffs Spearo Club down there in Coffs Harbour, doing good things. I just got prompted by Tommy Dawes on Insta to give him a shout out. So g'day to those guys, and we've got plans to go down and see you guys at some point as well and go for a dive. Yeah,
awesome. If you do write a cold pitch in a Facebook group, it can be kind of awkward. So just try and be funny and give people like a kind of an abridged version of your ability and your experience so far. And whether you've got a boat license or not and things like that, because that's important.
You put your Plenty of Fish profile up, didn't you? And it went off.
Mate, Plenty of Fish died in the 90s, bro. You got to get with it.
So I haven't been a player for a while.
Yeah, no, you got to get with it, man. There's new apps.
Bit of a shout out to Lockie G on Instagram, Alec Rawson, and Aidan Williamson. We've got a few questions coming in from those guys later on that we'll answer. They had to ask us about pole spears, which we're just kind of not that interested in, but we'll do our best anyway. Right, well, where are we off to now?
I've got a recording here from Alex. Sorry, just got a voice message here from Alex with a quick question. Let's hear what he had to ask.
Hey guys, Alex from Perth here. I've had my spear gun for about a year now, and it started sinking in the water. It's not buoyant anymore. I was just wondering if you had any actionable information that could help me fix this problem. Cheers.
Oh, that's a good question. Shrek's had a bit of a sinking feeling as he's aged, and there's plenty of ways around it. But I'd say if it's a timber gun, it's probably taken on water. It's probably soaking up water and may need to be refinished. And if it's an alley gun, a pipe gun, or perhaps it's leaking in through the bungs or the plugs in the barrel itself. I don't know if you put a reel on it or anything like that, but if it's not watertight, it'll take on water and the gun will get quite heavy. So either that, or maybe you've changed spears. You might have put a heavier stainless spear on there that can also affect the buoyancy of the gun. That's probably everything I can sort of think of.
Okay, so if it's an alley or carbon gun, and it could be the bungs, like you said, what's the process there for kind of troubleshooting that?
Well, what I've seen is you take the barrel off or the muzzle, and you can either pull one of those bungs out, or if there's room in there, what I've seen a couple of mates of mine do is get a good slab of marine Sikaflex. Well, first you got to get the water out, obviously, and then get the marine Sikaflex in there and just make a massive bung out of it. And I don't know why they don't do that from you. I'm not sure. There must be a reason. But from our experience with guns, and we've had them down to probably maybe in the 20-metre zone, and that Sikaflex has held out fine because we've had it before, yeah.
I'd also like to point you back to Daniel Mann's episode. His mate, Tim McDonald, waterlogged his big Rye Furo, and Daniel pulled it apart and refinished it. And I think Daniel's pretty good with guns in general, so check him out on YouTube as well. The Daniel Mann YouTube channel is very popular, very good. He's a really good guy for showing you stuff. And there's another page that he's a part of and we're a part of called, I think it's the Spear Gun Making Club on Facebook. I'll link it up in the show notes. But there's a whole bunch of guys that just geek out on guns and that in there. And if our explanation hasn't helped enough today, then I'd encourage you to go there and maybe put a photo up of your gun and what you've sort of done so far to troubleshoot your issue. And you'll definitely find a whole host of help on there because those guys love just geeking out on guns. Yeah, cool. So thanks for your question, Alex.
Cool. All right, what do we got next? Shrek. What's our next question?
That was one of yours.
Yeah, all right. So I was talking about these guys on Instagram before that wanted to shoot us a heap of questions on hand spears, and I love that terminology, hand spear, not pole spear. Anyway, so, all right, now one of the questions was, well, they had a lot of questions about hand spears, and they wanted to know what are the best hand spears? Is it worth getting a different type of hand spear tip? Now, I'll answer that second one right now. If you're starting and you're a beginner, I'd stay away from slip tips or anything that complicates the matter because it just drive you crazy. As for tips, yeah, why not? I mean, you've got prangers and now you've got just your flopper style tips. They both work. But the truth is, we don't do a lot of hand spearing. We took it up.
You did.
I took it up. to be fair, when I first started spearfishing, I had a hand spear and I loved the thing. And I didn't shoot a lot of fish with it, but I shot a few. And then I took it up later in life after years of having whiz-bang spear guns, and I didn't enjoy it at all, really. I don't go spearfishing enough to get around it, so I didn't really like it. But there's a competitor podcast out there who, but I hate to say it, he's done an absolutely bang-up job. He's done a great job. So he hasn't done many episodes, but he's killing it. Now, he's from the UK, and it's called...
America.
Oh, he's a US, is he? Yeah. So he's called Cast and Spear Podcast. And he has done episodes 28 to 31 with the guys from Gatku. And it's all about pole spears, to be fair, over there. So it's all about pole spears, hand spears. If there's anything that you need to know about these things, tune into that. It's good stuff.
I'm kind of with you with pole spears. Like, if you only get out spearfishing twice a month, then it's easy not to want to handicap yourself with a pole spear, which is inferior to a spear gun in terms of range and stuff like that. But I think there's definitely a cool sense to using one, and I want to get one again. But it's kind of on the list.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll get right on it. So the other question was, what's the... This is a great question. What's the biggest fish you think you could shoot on a hand spear? Well, and I like doing this because it's pretty interesting. Go over to iusarecords.com and then click on pole spear records, and there's a massive list of all the current pole spear records, and it'll absolutely blow your mind. There's a Goliath groper on there, 364.7 kilos. Massive. Peter Corial, striped marlin, 40.2 kilos on a hand spear. That's pretty impressive. Luke Malice, Kubera snapper, 59 kilos. So, it can be done, and guys are doing it. And I think a lot of these blokes, they end up moving from spear guns when it all just seems to come a bit pedestrian, and they want a challenge. So they move on a pole spear. So yeah, I mean, there's some big fish to be shot on a pole spear.
Hey Noobers, it's Jeremy here from Spearing Magazine with an update for you guys. Shrek and Turbo have been doing such a great job with telling guys about Spearing Magazine that we've actually sold out of most of our back issues and catalogs. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we have an international subscription available just for you guys. Yeah, from Spearing Magazine. I'm Jeremy Campbell. Thank you, guys. Go to spearingmagazine.com. Check out the international subscription. Aw, yeah.
Guys, head on over to penetratorfins.com. They are proud sponsors of today's Noob Spearo podcast. We're happy to announce a code you can use to save yourself $20 on any blade purchase. That's right, save $20, pump in the code Noob Spearo at checkout, penetratorfins.com. Save yourself some dough on some fins and get yourself some of the best fins going with full international warranty. Larry's the man. Thanks, Penetrator. So we're just calling Rhys Clay. I'm going to put an accent on.
Hello, Rhys speaking.
Hello, Rhys. It's Stephen here from the Noob Spearo podcast.
Oh, hey, how you going?
Hey, Rhys, how are you, mate? It's Shrek.
Hey, Shrek.
Turbo's here.
Thanks for giving me a call.
No worries.
G'day, Rhys. Turbo here, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Mate, I'm back for episode 100. I'm back for you, actually. Pretty excited.
Yeah, awesome.
You got the kids screaming away in the background, and we called it a good time.
Yeah.
If you need to smack some bums, go for it. Otherwise,
I'll shut the door.
That's all good, mate.
And my wife will enter them.
Just walked away from that nicely. Really good.
Well done. Rhys, you've been listening to the show for a while?
Yeah, pretty much as soon as I started Spiff.
How long ago was that, man?
Well, I mean, I've sort of been doing it my whole life on and off. I've got a pretty funny story about that, actually.
Yeah, fire on.
I had a neighbour that had a pole spear, and we used to always take it out, and we'd go out without flippers and without a mask or anything like that and try and just see fish and shoot them. And I remember this one time we went out with this friend of mine, and it was the first time we had a go of a proper spear gun. And we actually had masks and everything. This is when I was like 15 or 16, and we had no idea how to use it. Like, basically, we just asked my neighbour's dad, how do we use this? And he was just like, just pull this rubber band back and then shoot the trigger. And we were like, okay. And anyways, we gave it to my friend, and he's a little bit Gumby. And
I know. I got a friend like that.
He mustn't have locked the shaft in properly, and he pulled the band back and basically pulled it back to the first notch. And we were like swimming in front of him, and we just saw the shaft just fly past us.
Oh no!
So he must have just pulled it back into the notch, and it just flung away straight away.
Jeepers!
Fuck, that's close, isn't it?
Yeah. So I put it on ice for about a few years after that, and then I'd always wanted to do it, but I've always had this kind of love-hate relationship with the ocean. Sort of fished and surfed my whole life, but I've had I'd had quite a few near drowning incidents.
Oh wow!
And so I surfed a lot, but I think when you surf, you only go underwater for like 5-10 seconds. Even like the worst wipeout might only be like 30 seconds. So I just thought I could never do what those guys do. And I remember in my saved searches in Gumtree, I always had spearfishing gear in my saved searches, and it was one of those things where I was always like, I'm going to get around to doing it, but this never really did.
Right.
I like the quality parenting of your neighbour's father or whoever owned the gun. It's just like, here's a gun, off you go. Like, it's fraught with danger, to say the least.
Hey, Rhys, recently you shot a barra. Tell us about that, mate.
Yeah. So I had some notes prepared, but I don't have them in front of me because it's a pretty funny story, actually. So my brother is sort of like the main person that I spearfish with, and we sort of grown up fishing together, and like I don't have the patience for line fishing, so I'd usually just kind of pester him when we'd go rod fishing together, and I'd always be like, can you fix my bait, or can you fix the hook and stuff like that? But now it's kind of like the roles are reversed now that we're into spearfishing, and there's a spot pretty close to where I live, and it's considered a pretty rubbish spot. I think the best fish that I've landed there has just been a trevally so far, and I hadn't seen, like, other than bullsharks, you don't really see much out there. So it's a very dirty spot as well. And me and my brother are just obsessed with jewfish. And when we were rod fishing, all we'd ever get was brim and maybe the odd mangrove jack. So we're just obsessed with these bigger fish. And so we have a habit of sort of going in these just terrible spots and looking for jewfish. And sometimes it's like, maybe 1 in 20 times it pays off. But we're at this terrible spot, and I actually turned up a bit later than my brother, and he was already in the water. And when I got there, he just looked at me and he just said, I've just shot a jewfish straight through the head and I've lost it. And he's like, there's a big one too. And I was like, he's because it was low tide as well. That's the other thing. Low tide, 2 meters viz. I was like, he's pulling my leg. So anyways, I put my mask on and I poked my head in the water, and sure enough, pretty much as soon as I looked down, there was a jewfish at my feet. And so I was pretty stoked. So we did a few dives, and it was just really murky, and the current was really strong too. And basically, like, you'd be at the end of your dive and you'd be just about to give up, and you just look over and there'd be a big head just sort of sitting about a metre away from you. But we didn't manage to land any that day, but I actually saw them as well in the afternoon. Like, I basically saw them, they must have been chasing some bait fish, and I saw them move through the water chasing the bait fish. So we went back the next day, and I wasn't even planning to dive because I was looking after my youngest daughter. She's about 2.5, and so I was like, I'll just go fishing with her, line fishing, and my brother was going to go spearfishing. So, and it's at this spot where, like, you spearfish just meters from the shore.
Okay.
So I chucked some bait out, and as I said before, I'm pretty crap at rod fishing, and I threw my line out, and something just swallowed this bait, like, straight away, and it was like a pretty big piece of bait. Like, it was like the wing of a mangrove jack.
Yeah, right.
And it just in one gulp just swallowed it and just took the line.
Jeepers.
And I was like, wow, the jewfish are back.
Nice.
And my brother was looking at me, and it was really murky, and like it's renowned for bullsharks, this spot.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm not feeling it, bro. Do you wanna have a quick look?"
Yeah.
And I didn't have my wetsuit on or anything. I had jean shorts on. I had my typical dad outfit, just some tacky jean shorts and some just like a t-shirt. And so I said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll just have a quick look." And so I pretty much once again put my mask on, poked my head in the water, and I was like, "Wow!" I saw another jewfish down at my feet.
Jeepers.
And I thought, all right, this time I'm gonna really do it properly and do a longer dive and like not move very much and just drift with the current. And I had my 75 centimeter gun with two bands on it, which is pretty dumb in hindsight, but in that murky water, it's quite handy.
Yeah, that sounds good.
No issues with powering up a little gun like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So this is it. Sort of didn't work. I did a dive, anyways. Out of the corner shoots like a close to a 1 meter jewfish. Perfect shot, like right in the middle of it. And I shoot it, and the spear just bounced off it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I came up and I go to my brother, and this is where it started to get quite funny. I go to my brother, quick, chuck me my 120 gun, and my brother's like trying to handle my 2.5-year-old daughter, and she's like climbing all up and down the rocks, and there's like oysters everywhere I can see he's like halfway between. He's like, "Oh, do I look out for the kid or do I give him the gun?" And he went to pass me the gun, and
he left the kid. Chucked you the gun.
He bumped my daughter on the head with the gun. Like he basically like dropped it on her head.
Oh no!
And so and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." Like, and so he hands me the 120 gun. And I thought, "Oh, surely these fish would have pissed off." I did another dive, and I came around the corner, and there was about 3 or 4 of them again, and I just could see those yellow eyes, and shot it, and then I started pulling it up, and I looked over, and I could see my daughter's like climbing in all around the rocks like a monkey, and my brother's like trying to tend to her, and I looked over at him, and I was like, "Oh, I'm on," and he couldn't even hear me. He was so distracted, and then I looked down, and I thought, "Oh, damn it, this jewfish isn't even that big." Like, started pulling up, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's a barramundi."
Oh, nice.
That's crazy. How big did it go?
It was 85 centimeters, which is not huge for a barramundi, but like
that's good.
It's pretty decent, I guess, especially for your first one.
Yeah. So where'd you say you were exactly?
Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll keep doing what you're doing, and it's absolutely cool to have a chat with you, Rhys, and good to get a story or two off you, mate. So we wish you well with your spearing.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, and I suppose if you put it on the show, it'll be pretty funny because my wife didn't actually know about the bumping my daughter in the head with the gun as well.
That explains the bandage.
Yeah.
This is what happens on the show. People frequently get found out. So.
Yeah.
Okay, catch you, Rhys.
See you, Rhys.
Yeah, bye.
Righto, we've got another question here from regular listener Richard Metzger, who's actually based out of Houston, Texas, and it's 5 a.m. in the morning there, Turbo, so we can't give him a call. But he says, really love your show, amazing info, and always actionable and interesting. Jeepers, we've killed the hell out of that word, haven't we?
Fucking destroyed it.
I've absolutely just, I don't even want to use it. Maybe I shouldn't use it for a while. Anyway, you're listening to the most actionable spearfishing podcast on the planet. So thanks, Richard. He says, in listening to your shows, a question always lingers with me, is what do the spearos do for their professional careers to make money to support their spearing? Funny he should ask, because I wrote an article for Adreno a couple of weeks ago, spearfishing.com.au. It's in their blog. It's called 6 Jobs Spearos Love. And this is just based purely on anecdotal evidence from interviewing more than 100 spearos from around the world. Now, number one, mining. A lot of these guys are miners. They have these fly-in, fly-out type jobs, oil and gas, this sort of work, and or mining coal. And obviously, that's a good way to do it. If you work 2 weeks and you get a week off, it's a good way. And
I've actually seen some even crazier stints, like. I've seen 7 days on, I think it was 1 week on 3 weeks off. And the guys were they were going all through Southeast Asia. And they were diving, and it looked good. Looked really good. Anyway, continue on with this cracking piece that you wrote on anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, number 2 was shut down electrician, or just electricians in general. People's favourite, Brody Moss.
Love that.
It's from The Simpsons, that one. That one's. The guy from Youngbloods, Brody, he's a Sparky or ex-Sparky. So is Daniel Mann. Definitely a popular...
Brody, who's that?
Brody Moss.
That dude. The dude
Yeah.
that's on his jet ski all the time.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw him
right.
getting a drain one day he got in a drain and swimming down a drain, and then he made his own bow and arrow, and he was shooting fish with his own homemade bow and arrow.
Yeah, he does some rad stuff. He's definitely popular with people, that's for sure. Firemen. Now, this is a weird one, but you and me know at least 5 firemen that spearfish.
Well, it's funny because Penetrator Finn's just joined the live chat, and he's a dead set fireman. And one time he was actually on one of those fireman calendars. You know, the ones with their shirts off? He's just sort of hanging off the pole. That was bloody hot stuff, eh? It makes me real nervous to be in a boat with him these days, knowing that that's what he sort of used to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and you do those overnight trips with him as well. Does he ever bring the calendar when you do the overnight trips?
I bring the calendar. It's the best thing about the trip.
So that's Larry from Penetrator Fins. He's good value. School teacher. Now, my old mate, Pat Swanson in New Zealand, he seems to just always be on leave because, kids never go to school. They just always have holidays. So that could be a good number. The old school teacher, that's how they do it.
They're never at work. I work around school teachers.
Nah. Number 5 is a bit of a Levi, entrepreneur. And
The old sickie.
so, whether it's doing something illegal or, maybe being successful with e-commerce or something, I guess you could do your own hours then.
Just while we're there, Penetrator's just on the line. They're actually doing a black label edition fin, and it's going to have a print of Larry with his shirt off just in his lower fireman half. So if you want to get involved in that, the code is Black Label Larry. So
Penetratorfins.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Penetratorfins.com.
Black Label Larry.
Beautiful. All right, what's the next one?
That's a very limited edition, that one. The last one was diving jobs, we've had guys like Dwayne Herbert on, abalone diver, sea urchins. There's these diving jobs are there. Josh Humbert, they've got the Komoka Pearls over there in Tahiti. There are these types of these diving jobs around. Greg Pickering, the guy that we'd love to get on the show, he's in South Australia, ab diver. He's been attacked by 2 great whites, but diving jobs, and then you're in the water all the time, and you got your diving fitness there as well, so that makes sense. So there's a couple of answers there for you, Richard Metzger, but if anyone wants to check that out, it's at spearfishing.com.au, and the blog is 6 Jobs Spearos Love. I had a good laugh actually just writing it, thinking about it, because I was pondering career direction as myself at the time. Cool. Let's hook in. Quick shout out to Dan, who's in the process of restoring the Prodonovich gun. Dan's a long-time listener and former guest on the show, Dan Walsh. So he's got the Prodonovich tuna gun that he's been doing up. So that's pretty cool. We can't catch up with him because it's super early there in the morning as well. Let's hook into a couple more of your Instagram questions, Turbo.
I think we went through them all. They're all pole spear questions, and we sort of covered that off.
Okay, awesome.
There was 3 pages of pole spear questions that we couldn't answer, so we just referred them to somebody else.
To a competitor's podcast.
that could answer those questions. That's pretty sad.
Malcolm Galloway, I'm just going to try and give him a bell back.
Hello?
Hello, Mal.
Hey, Isaac.
Shrek and Turbo, you're on the line with Turbo as well. What are you up to, man? Have we got you at a good time?
I actually just got back in from a big day, on the kayak. Just getting in the phase of washing all the gear off and all that stuff, all that good stuff.
Mate, awesome. So you're buggered from a long day out, and then you're getting the annoying nasal tones of Shrek and Turbo over the phone. That's it. That's a horrible way to finish today.
That's it.
So you've been listening to the show for a while, Mal, and thanks for listening, mate. So it's great to connect with you and get on the line with you. I know you've spent a lot of time sort of diving up and down Queensland, New South Wales, and then recently you spent a year in New Zealand. I was just hoping you could tell us maybe some of the biggest takeaways you've had with your experiences. What have you learned and picked up along the way?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Probably just keeping everything simple, and just spent the time over the last 3 years getting comfortable in the water, and then everything else just kind of came after that, you know.
Mel, are you a shore diver?
Yeah. So predominantly, pretty much all shore diving until I got this kayak. I have a few friends with boats, but we don't get out as much as we should, you know. But majority shore diving, yes.
Mate, give us some tips, because I'm not a real strong swimmer. I'm a country boy. I grew up sort of 6 hours from the coast, so I don't really take to the water that well. Which is pretty shit house for a Spearo. Run us through some the things that you've learnt for a guy. He's going to. Most of us start shore diving, and shore diving can actually be like one of the hardest and most dangerous places to start, but it's still good fun. What are some good takeaways that you've learned over the last few years from getting into shore diving?
Yeah, definitely. I would say finding a good place to get in on the rocks and jump in somewhere where you're protected and safe versus and then swim out maybe to the spot that you'd like to actually have a go at, have a look around. And I just always bring all my gear in my 70-liter hiking backpack too, and put the weight belt at the bottom and carry it all in, carry plenty of water and maybe some electrolytes, all of that type of stuff, because sometimes it's a long way to get there, you know, and stuff, check to see if you have cell phone reception, things like that. Plenty of water for the hike in and out too, for sure.
Have you had any equipment malfunctions with some of these longer shore diving missions?
I keep it very simple. I just have the 90-centimeter Bochet spear gun that I started with, and started on the pole spear before that, and I use that and a float line, and very, very simple, no reel or anything. It's probably almost Stone Age technology now with everything that's out, but I got a 5mm Whitty top from the guys at Whitty's in Auckland, and it's still going strong, 2 years. So the equipment, I just try to take good care of it. Tonight I'm tired, but I'm still gonna have to wash it. So try to take good care of everything. And
that's the tough one, the old washing your gear down after a 10-hour stint out spearing. Jeepers, though, it's rough.
I'm always the next day, or right now, I've got a disused bathroom in my house, and there's still a wetsuit sitting in there, just musting up in the corner. I hate it the day up. I hate it that night. I can't do it.
Probably my favourite one for that is just carrying your whole dive bag into the bathroom and just putting it in the shower, and you just hop in and just have a 15-minute shower and wash your gear down while you're in there.
Bachelor life. You just get away with that shit.
Yeah, I get away with it, yeah.
That's it. That's what I'm about to do. So that is a great technique. That's my favorite technique as well. And just wash everything onto the gear, and it all kind of gets cleaned up.
Yeah, speaking of bachelor life, this is the first time I've been over to Shrek's house, and you can tell he lives alone. Fair dinkum, mate. I went to use the bathroom, and he's left me a surprise in there. It was rough. It was a real welcome.
That's how you welcome your friends, Turbo, and that way they're not encouraged to come back.
This place needs a woman, I can tell you.
Oh, she's stuck. She can't come into the country. That's pretty cool. I know you mentioned in your message to me that you have some dramas with your ears. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you've kind of learned to get around some of your problems?
Yeah, definitely. As I was kind of going into before, I just was kind of self-taught a lot of this, the blind leading the blind for sure. And I've honestly I've learned a lot about your podcast, and all the experts and people you've interviewed has really helped my knowledge base kind of being self-taught, you know. And so my ears, basically, I don't know. I think I'm just struggling, maybe with using Frenzal probably half the way that it should be done, half the way improvised, and so I don't usually push much depth here to spear anyways. So I'd say I'm pretty safe down to 10,
15 meters and can equalize down to there. But anything below that, I just notice I get a bit of a squeeze, and then I'll always have water in my ears after a big session down deep or like pushing depth. So then I come out and I try to just shake my head really aggressively both ways, like not like in a harmful manner, but just to get any water out straight away when I get out of the water. And that's been working pretty well. But I think it can build up behind the wax and whatnot, and that's the dangerous thing to run into, because then if it gets stuck behind the wax, I feel like it stays for a few days.
Yeah, you bring back memories when I used to do continuous scuba diving, and I think I was using Valsalva then. I used to use those swimmer airdrops, and it's alcohol based, and that would dry out all of my wax, and then it wouldn't even leave my ear, and so I think I was getting problems with that as well. And I actually started mixing eucalyptus oil with olive oil and just putting drops of that in my ear, because it's obviously moist, but antibacterial as well to give them a good clean. Have you tried anything like that?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that sounds right up my alley. I like to experiment with, like, the holistic approach versus the, stuff from the pharmacy. And yeah, that sounds like just the ticket what you need anyways for when you've got a bit of water back there. Oh, great idea.
Yeah, well, it's meant to be a moist zone in your ears. You want to keep that wax like that so it runs out of your ears. I was going to say, by the time you go and see a doctor, they prescribe some antibiotic eardrops, and those things, while they get the job done, they kind of clean out all the bacteria. So it's terrible.
Oh, yeah, and you never want that, like, with your stomach, with your ears. You want, like, the good bacteria in there, and, yeah, exactly. It's just to keep that balance.
Yeah, but that's an interesting idea from you. Like you said, just as soon as you get out of the water, you try and do some rapid sort of clearing by knocking your head around.
That's it. I'm just trying to get to know, like, my ears and what they respond to, and, I think everybody's ears are different, and, I guess that's just, if anybody else listening has run into the problem, I guess, the more you just understand what's going on with them, the more you can treat them.
Yeah, for sure. Having a look at the physiology of your ears is really interesting.
No, we're actually, we're doing our first Instagram live tonight as well. It's absolute debacle because we've run out of headphones and we just realised that nobody could hear you. So I've actually put the phone in my set of headphones, and now people can hear you, but I've got to hold the phone and the headphones up in the air so we can both be seen.
And we've got one microphone.
And it's just an absolute bar. But anyway, it's going well. Everyone's loving the chat about Moist Zone, apparently. That is going off.
That's awesome. No, it sounds good, and it's good to hear you back, Turbo.
Yeah, I'm back, mate. I'm off the tools. It's actually pretty exciting. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Oh, well, the latest episodes have been on point, guys, and it's been awesome.
Cheers, Malcolm. Hey, I was going to ask you just one last question before we duck off, but thanks for jumping on with us. Maybe I'll give you two questions, but I know you spent a lot of time diving in really poor visibility. What are some of the things you've learnt to kind of counteract that? I mean, there's obviously only so much you can do, but you've persevered in some of these really terrible conditions. How have you managed to still get some fish? What are your biggest kind of tricks?
Oh, that's a great question again. So like on the South Island in New Zealand especially, some of the river mouths and stuff down there just let out a lot of pretty gnarly water and fresh water. And like around Kayakura and just around, and just general, like whole South Island, I just was generally dealing with 2 or 3 meters viz on average days. And I lived down there for 6 months around Dunedin. So, I do a lot of shore dives in that area, and it is just notoriously pretty hazy area. Even when it's clean, it's just hazy. But I would just say mainly that's what I was kind of going towards earlier, where I was saying just get comfortable. Just tried to become comfortable in low viz, and also try to be an effective hunter at the same time. So like target fish that would come in close, like butterfish or blue moki down there, and they come in pretty close. Neither of those species are the brightest fish, so yeah, you can still get those in pretty bad viz down south there.
You're shooting dumb fish in dirty water, so basically you're getting really close to what is essentially an easy fish to shoot.
Yeah, well, yeah, any identifiable, like, I mean, down there and on the South Island, I feel like there's really only a few species that you see anyways, and if it's a big, larger shape, it's probably a moki, and if it's a little more cylindrical, maybe a butterfish. And, yeah, and then on days where I couldn't see really there, just go down and look in some of the terrain that, like, you just expect to find crays in. If you could find the terrain, maybe get down to that and stick your head in, and yeah, if you can find the terrain, maybe there'd be some crays in there. So
no shortage of bloody crays down there, is there?
No, it's great. It's the south coast down on the south. It's some of the most phenomenal. I'd never had a crayfish before I went to New Zealand. I'd never had a crayfish, before starting spearing. So
you were spoiled then.
I was just like, oh, I'm blown away.
They're bloody good eating too. What was your best cray down there?
Probably. So I walked to this spot in Fjordland. It was pretty remote, like maybe 14 Ks in, and like on one of the days where there was some viz, I was able to get out to a little bit further off the shelf, and it was just crayfish, basically ledges. The whole shelf of the coast was full of crayfish ledges, and yeah, I'd say probably, I didn't weigh them or anything, but it was pretty big. It was about the size of one of the fins, and had some meat to him, so yeah, he was a good size.
Bloody horse, mate. Yeah, no, those special days are what, sometimes keep you going when you dive in those, persistently poor conditions and that. So I know exactly what you mean. You're laying in the bottom sometimes in 1.5 meters of viz, and holy shit, what was that? And by the time it's come and gone, you can't even get your gun up to shoot it. So good on you. And you're a mad, passionate Spearo, Malcolm, for sticking with it in some of these situations, man. And like I said, it's really good to chat with you. Just going to ask you just quickly, who has been the more sort of valuable host of the Noob Spearo podcast? Like, obviously...
Now, Malcolm, let's not go on numbers here because I've had a bit of time off. Had a little bit of podcast burnout, but, I don't know where to go from this.
He did contribute 1 or 2 tips in the earlier sort of the noughts, I call them, like the very first episodes.
Oh my gosh! No, both of your tips are invaluable, and like I said before, I haven't had many resources getting into the sport, and I really I feel like I've learned so much from you guys, and yeah, it's great to finally chat, and hopefully we'll be able to get out for a dive one day because I'm trying to get a residency here in Australia. So
and we love a fence sitter too, Malcolm, which is great. Very diplomatic.
Yeah, no, we'll catch up, Malcolm. We nearly got together for a dive about maybe 1.5 months ago, so we'll see what happens in the future, man. But thanks for making time for us tonight. We'll have to let you go and wash your gear.
Awesome, guys. I'm glad to connect with you, and talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. Catch you, Malcolm.
See you, mate.
Keep up the great work. Bye.
He was great. He sounded remarkably like Roman Castro.
His accent's weird. He's got a whole lot of things in there. Yeah, he's a cool dude. I've chatted with him heaps, so it's good.
Nice.
What do we got on Instagram? There looks like a few people there. They got some questions.
Mate, we got that many. We got 14 people. Okay, there was a bit of chat about your mustache.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah, your beard. You're saying it's a nice beard and that. And how do you get your mask to seal if you've got your beard on? But then with your beard. I
don't have any dramas, eh? Like, I always just, like, Trevor Kitchen, I think, said back in the day, he's got this face that's just like you just put on the cheapest mask you can find and it works. So I'm kind of the same. And I haven't had any dramas. I just get the generic mask that, like, 4 or 5 brands white label. I think they're normally, like, maybe $30 to $40. And they always do the job for me. They just take ages to kind of treat well enough so that they don't fog. But that's the only drama I have is just fog.
What does this say? It says, on future episode, can you guys do your origin stories?
Ooh.
Well, that's pretty good. I think we should do that. Mine's pretty basic.
Yeah, tell us.
I started at the Umberto Pellizzari School for Freediving, where I excelled. I got full classically trained freediver, and it shows. Yeah.
Yeah. I think shortly after training you, he more or less retired from competitive spearfishing because he was like, my work here is done. Like when the pupil surpasses the master.
Absolutely. No, what's your story? You're because I feel if we're going to tell your story and we're going to do it live, I think you probably want to whip that shirt off and show us that tattoo that's on your, I think it's on your left breast. No, it's on your right breast.
You're a piece of shit.
I can whip it off for the people and because that gives it good backstory.
No one needs to know this.
Why? In case you don't know, Shrek's got a beautiful tattoo of dolphins jumping over waves in a circular fashion. Celtic, yeah, that's it. And it represented you in your early days. You're a scuba diver, sort of finding a place in the world. Is this right?
Pretty much. Look, we were all 18 months, and I don't regret it at all. No regrets. No, it's a shit tattoo, and all of my mates.
Look, the people want it. Speargun Engineering, show us your tat.
That's. We know who that is.
Come on, whip that out. Just maybe pull the shirt down. It's a Noob Spearo shirt. Don't rip it.
No.
Have a go at this. Hang on.
Okay,
hang on.
No, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's
Give
not
the
happening.
people what they want.
Look, it's just a Noob Spearo
Just
shirt.
whip that down for the guys.
All right.
Have a look at that little ripper.
I'm not proud of it, but what do you do?
Shit.
This episode is degrading.
It is. I think we might call it a night on the old.
We might have to.
On the Instagram. But
before we head off,
Yeah.
we're going to get into a longer chat with Jaap Verbaas. So he's got 3 articles that are well worth checking out at freedivewire.com. One's called CO2 Transport and CO2 Tolerance for Freedivers. Now, CO2 tolerance is a huge thing for increasing your bottom time down. And he's looking at all of the physiological mechanisms of that and how to train them. And he's a real clever dude. He's got this real experimental mindset. So check that out at freedivewire.com. The details of CO2 transport and CO2 tolerance. But Jaap's going to tell us all about it in just a second. He's also going to tell us about why lactate and lactate acid, what they have to do with freediving. And we've got a cheeky remark.
nothing at all.
Oh, I'm going to go back through your comments, I think. And then the last article he's going to chat with is about what cardio can do for your freediving. And I started training about 3 or 4 months ago. Cardio's been huge. Like it boosts your blood volume when you do steady state. Well, maybe not steady. Steady state cardio. Prolonged, like elevated heart rate. It boosts your blood volume, and it's been proven to clean your blood, which is huge for freediving. We were laughing about this earlier, but like it's interesting learning about some of these mechanisms. So
back in Italia with Umberto when I started, it's not
who's
nothing.
Umberto?
Umberto.
What did I call him that other episode?
Oh, fucking! You're calling him like Andre and shit like that. The grandfather of freediving,
Jeepers.
Andre Pellizzari. No wonder he won't come on the show.
We've never even reached out to him.
Oh, he sent me a message and said, I'll never come on your show. He's preemptive.
Yeah, we should do some more like the long time famous legend type people. Maybe.
He just said he was busy.
Yeah.
All right. So what else does Jaap? Is that more saying?
No,
that right?
he's gonna. We're gonna chat with him
so.
quickly about these 3 articles and some key takeaways, and that'll wrap our episode up just nicely. Today I've got a sweet offer for you. To go with this free episode of the Noob Spearo podcast, you've got access to some free courses. How cool is that? Go to noobspearo.com/TED. Now, Ted Hardy from Immersion Freediving, a frequent guest on the Noob Spearo podcast, has got several free courses available at noobspearo.com/TED. Check it out, Freediving Safety. There's a full video course about how to avoid shallow water blackout, how to be a good buddy, all is the fundamentals of just being a good, safe Spearo, and it's all free. Check it out, noobspearo.com/TED. There's another one in there as well about how to take a 20 to 30% bigger breath, which will give you more fuel, more time on the bottom, and make you a more effective Spearo. There's also a whole lot of other courses there as well. Check them out, get a 15% discount, noobspearo.com/TED. And today we've got a bit of a special feature. Back from the world of freediving science, I'm rejoined by Dr. Jaap Verbaas, who's going to talk us through 3 of the latest articles coming out of freedivewire.com. So g'day Jaap, it's awesome to have you with us again. Let's get into 3 of these articles. Now, CO2 transport and tolerance is your first big article coming out. It's a thick article. There's a lot of good info in there. But let's break it down. What is CO2? How is it produced? And how does it influence our freediving?
Thanks, Shrek. It's a pleasure to be back. So CO2, of course, is a gas which is produced from aerobic metabolism in tissues and muscle cells. And it's generally known as one of the triggers for contractions. So in a past article, I think we wrote it maybe a month ago or so, or 2 months ago, Luca, my partner in crime for Freedivewire, speculated on how CO2 actually triggers contractions and which receptors in the body do that, which sensors. And so he speculated that it's the central chemoreceptors which don't really occur, or they're not connected to the bloodstream, they're connected to the cerebrospinal fluid. And so we started thinking, well, how then does the CO2 actually affect that? And I went on this long, detailed search for how it all works, and I don't want to spill the beans completely because I'll be talking for 3 hours, but in the end, CO2 is transported in 3 different ways, and 2 of those ways are very much controlled by the red blood cells. And so it appears that in order to become highly tolerant to CO2, we really benefit from a high level of red blood cells and also from high blood volume. Because CO2 in the end can bind directly to red blood cells, and it's also converted to different compounds within red blood cells. And it is only the CO2 that is not bound or converted by red blood cells that can trigger contractions in the end. So full details are in one of our last articles called Details of CO2 Tolerance and Transports for Freediving.
Why can freedivers tolerate more CO2?
Well, there's really 2 ways in which freedivers can tolerate more CO2 than others. I mean, elite freedivers might take iron supplements and train to have higher blood quality, etc. So more red blood cells, that helps. Another big part of it is, of course, desensitization. And that is what we do with, for example, CO2 tables, etc. You expose yourself to high CO2 for long enough, then the sensors might sense the same levels, but won't be alarmed as fast, so it won't trigger contractions quite as fast.
So what's a practical takeaway from the CO2 transport and tolerance article, and where can people find the article in full?
Well, the real takeaway from that article, I think, is that in addition to the classic CO2 tolerance exercises we do, you really benefit from things that increase your red blood cells and your blood volume as well. So whereas traditionally, we might do that kind of training to carry more oxygen down with us, it actually helps for the CO2 tolerance as well. And that's things like cardio or hypoxic trainings, etc. You can find the article on freedivewire.com, and your fastest way of getting there is just by typing in CO2 in the little search bar, and the article should pop right up.
So from your book, Longer and Deeper, I remember that you break down a dive into phases, and each phase of a dive involves different systems, and therefore, we can train each of these phases according to where we're weakest, I guess. Which phase does lactate begin to affect us?
So lactate is a bit of a funny one, and there's a lot of misconceptions about lactate and lactic acid. But really, lactate is constantly formed in muscle cells, but where it really starts to impact us is when our blood lactate increases. So when that lactate starts to move out of the muscle cells and into our bloodstream. And that is a marker of highly anaerobic metabolism. So that when you start feeling your leg burn on the way up and, when your muscles become tired and fatigued while you're underwater, that is likely when blood lactate is high, and it is in sports in which you do breathe, normal sports, if you want to call it that. It is the mid-distance and long-distance sprinters that have that can cope with the highest levels of blood lactate.
So I guess my big question is, how can we improve our freediving performance when lactate levels increase? And, I'm distinctly familiar with getting that big burn on the way back to surface from a long dive. Is there anything we can do to train that mechanism so that we're just deal with it better?
Yeah, I think most of us, unfortunately, are very well acquainted with that leg burn. But really, there's two ways to approach lactate. The first one is to approach it as a one max diver. So, if you want to go for a record or a personal best, you're going to push it a little bit. You might be on the limit of what you can do. That is when your dive is most likely to be highly anaerobic. That is when you want to train with sprints, in order to, really cope with high levels of blood lactate. The sprints can be done both on the running track and in the pool. Of course, there's ways to design your workout in whatever environment you're in. The other way to do it, which I don't think most people are aware of, is with endurance training, and this is way more efficient for spearfishers or for the photographers underwater or just recreational divers. If you want to be able to do a lot of dives without having accumulated fatigue bother you, that is when you want to train endurance training on the lactate threshold. So what endurance training can do for you if you train right is it'll allow your muscle cells to cope with higher levels of lactate in the cell without increasing blood lactate. So you'll be able to work harder without having blood lactate increase. And if you manage to do that right, and you said you already noticed some with your cardio that it's helped you, that is part of what happens.
So the last article we're going to talk about today, Jaap, is what cardio can do for your freediving. Can you give us an idea of some of the core concepts and takeaways from this article?
Sure thing. So both these articles will be available on freedivewire.com in less than a few weeks. What cardio can do for your freediving? Well, most of the blood markers that increase with cardio are beneficial for freediving. So what they are, and I'll try to go quickly here. Red blood cell count increases, blood volume increases, CO2 tolerance as a result increases, your myoglobin will increase, your muscle cells will be able to cope with more lactate before blood lactate increases. Your recovery time decreases, so the leg burn won't come on as fast. So really, there's a lot of things that will increase with cardio, and I think probably all freedivers are going to benefit from having some base level of cardio. The freedivers like you and me that like to do a lot of recurring dives in one session, we're going to benefit more than somebody that's trying to set records in the pool disciplines. But I think overall, for 99% of the divers, the yous and the me's, if you will, cardio is going to be a huge benefit, and you can read the details in the article later on.
Hey, Jaap, thanks for sharing those three articles. People can come and find you across the socials at Freedive Wire or, of course, at freedivewire.com. But any parting piece of wisdom or guidance for our audience of passionate Spearos?
That might just be the hardest question you've asked me so far. I don't think there's any magic pills for the cross-training for freediving. So, in the end, you have to go with what you find is fun. If you like your endurance training, which I do, I really enjoy going for runs and I bike to work and all that stuff, then you should just do it. You don't think, well, I'm getting a leg burn, so I'm going to sprint even though I hate it, because you won't keep it up and it won't be fun. Exercise should be fun. So keep it that way. The reason you spear a lot is because you're passionate about it, as you say.
That's it. So we're done.
We're done with episode 100, unless you're our team on Insta have got any more questions. Facebook.
Yeah, has anyone got a question for Shrek or myself before we go?
Daniel Snowhiller on the Noob Spearo Facebook community. He says, really looking forward to this episode, and I have a question for you guys. What would you, as very experienced pros, tell someone who is a medium experienced freediver and spearfisher and is used to Mediterranean waters but wants to visit Australia for the first time? What to look for when shore diving and what dangers are there in general? Thanks, guys. It's a good question.
So he's a Mediterranean diver, so one could assume he's pretty handy if he's shooting fish in the Med.
Yeah, you have to be a good freediver there. They stand out better than most of us.
Yeah, right. So we're going to assume that he dives well, but he's used to nice clear water and let's say pretty flat.
And not much current.
Not much current. Mm. Okay,
So you're coming to Australia. Shore diving here is not great. There are some awesome opportunities that you do get, but just about all the way around the country, you're better off diving out of a boat, and you can get out to some of the more untouched grounds and find the cleaner water where there's no river runoff and stuff like that. And that doesn't really matter whether you're on the west or the east coast.
Absolutely. Reach out, find someone with a boat that's going to take you out wide or just offshore a bit where you've got some good water. Otherwise, if you're going to go shore diving, unlike the Med, you're going to have dirty water, current, swell, the whole lot, which you're probably not going to be used to. And you might love it, but if you don't, you want to get out a bit wider.
I would strategically choose a couple of Spearos in each area I plan to visit, and I would write them nice personal messages and tell them that you would be very happy to have the opportunity to go out and boat dive in that area. Could they help you or point you in the right direction? Or, there's charters, particularly up north on some of the Great Barrier Reef. The Norcat Real Deep Charters is very highly recommended. There's
Cat Reality's doing a lot of stuff now.
Okay, Big Cat Reality. I haven't heard any feedback on them, but
some of the guys love it. Yeah.
And the MV Booby Bird, some of the guys from down Sydney love diving off that boat. There's some really good charters here. WA is just an unspoilt paradise and lots of it, but you've got to get quite remote to find some of the good spots. But your freediving will be excellent here, Daniel. It's just getting used to diving in maybe poor visibility and dealing with current. But yeah, you'll love it because unlike the Med, the fishery here is very well managed. And so there's lots of opportunity to shoot great big fish.
Very well managed.
Well, it's a little bit piecemeal from state to state, and there's some clear issues. But
what you want to say is there's heaps of fish, and if you can dive like you can in the Mediterranean with a few guys around you to give you a few tips on local fish, I think you do very well. I think if you're coming from the Mediterranean, I would want to go to North Queensland or Western Australia where I can shoot all those colourful fish and possibly get on to a few of the good pelagics like dolphin fish, mackerel, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'd do. If I was going to travel away from the Med, I'd go straight to North Queensland or WA.
Yep, and if you're diving the tropical west or tropical east of Australia, you're looking at 50 plus species, and there's some amazing fish to shoot. So that's a very long answer to a short question, Daniel, but thanks for reaching out, man.
And our past guest, Sven, is on Instagram, and he just said, imagine all the snapper you'd get diving like a Mediterranean diver.
Yeah, if you can hold bottom time in like reasonable depth, particularly down south, I think you can definitely do it.
Absolutely.
They're a cagey bloody fish, aren't they? Sven, how many snapper have you shot? You've been down in Melbourne now for a while. You've been diving. He's been diving 2 years, eh?
Yeah.
What's your best snapper, Sven?
Well, we can't actually talk back over.
He can message.
He's
got fingers.
It says he's so interested. He was the last to comment, and he's found something more interesting to do. He literally was on there for half a minute.
Oh, good.
Fair enough. All right. I reckon that's episode 100.
Yeah, episode 100.
So, guys, thanks for joining. Oh, here we go. No, we can't go on here. We're not enough. Heaps of big boys at the moment. Only 52 centimetres. Well, that's still a good fish in my book. So
yeah, that's a nice fish.
Sven, you got on too late to the episode. We're shutting it down, mate. You forced us to shut this episode down. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us on episode 100. We didn't actually plan to do the
live stuff,
the Instagram live, but I reckon we'll do it from now on because it's pretty good fun. Awesome, and I guess we'll catch you in episode 101.
Yeah, thanks everyone for their questions, and next time we do a listener episode, it's always great to get your voicemail and chat with people. So leave us your phone numbers and stuff like that. And let's catch you in 101.
Excellent.
Adreno Spearfishing are today's proud sponsor of the Noob Spearo podcast. They stock a huge range of equipment that you can find in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and now Perth. That's right, spearfishing.com.au have got a huge range of gear. I encourage you to get along, use the code NoobSpearo, Noob Spearo, and save yourself $20 on every purchase over $200 when you shop online. Hey guys, thanks for listening to today's episode. If you are trying to improve your spearfishing, then you're in the right place. This podcast and our spearfishing community has got one of the best places to learn. Come and join us on the Noob Spearo community on Facebook. And you'll get access when you sign up to the Noob Spearo email newsletter. It's called The Floater at noobspearo.com. Just pump in your email and join our community. You'll get the dive day checklist and 10 tips to become a better spearo as well. And as always, we would love a review wherever you listen to the show. If you put in a genuine review, it helps other people find the show. Tell your mates about it. Jump on their smartphone and even download a couple of episodes and tell them what a bloody podcast is. All right, guys, let's check you next week. Thanks for listening to today's Noob Spearo podcast. Shrek out.